The dense forest of the Land of Fire trembled under the weight of an overwhelming chakra, the air thick with tension as two figures stood locked in a battle that would reshape the fate of the shinobi world. Uchiha Sasuke, his Rinnegan pulsing with dark energy, glared across the clearing at Uzumaki Naruto, whose golden cloak of Kurama's chakra flickered like a blazing sun. The ground between them was scarred from previous clashes, the earth split open by the sheer force of their power. Sasuke smirked, his Sharingan spinning into the Rinnegan's eerie concentric patterns. "You've grown stronger, Naruto, but it won't be enough," he taunted, his voice laced with cold determination. His left arm crackled with violet lightning, Chidori's piercing shriek filling the air as he lunged forward. Naruto barely had time to react, his instincts kicking in as he sidestepped, the Chidori grazing his shoulder and carving a molten trench into the earth behind him. Naruto gritted his teeth, his whisker marks deepening as Kurama's chakra surged. "Damn it, Sasuke. What the hell's gotten into you?" He growled, forming a Rasengan in his palm, the spiraling sphere of chakra whirling violently. He countered, slamming the attack towards Sasuke's ribs, but the Uchiha twisted midair, his Rinnegan flaring as he activated the Preta path, absorbing the Rasengan's energy before it could connect. "You still don't understand," Sasuke muttered, landing gracefully on a tree branch. "Power isn't just about raw strength, it's about control." His Rinnegan pulsed again, and suddenly, Naruto felt a foreign pressure seize his mind. A sharp pain lanced through his skull as Kurama's growl echoed in his consciousness. "Naruto. He's..." Before the Nine Tails could finish, Naruto's vision blurred. His body stiffened, his chakra flickering erratically as if something was forcibly suppressing it. His golden cloak dimmed, the fiery aura receding against his will. Panic surged through him, Kurama's presence was fading, slipping out of his grasp. Sasuke's eyes gleamed with dark triumph. The Rinnegan's power extends beyond mere jutsu absorption. "I can manipulate tailed beasts themselves," he declared, his voice icy. With a single gesture, he exerted his will, and Naruto's body convulsed as Kurama's chakra was ripped from him, swirling violently before condensing into a swirling mass of crimson energy in Sasuke's outstretched hand. Naruto collapsed to one knee, gasping as the sudden loss of Kurama's power left him vulnerable. His mind reeled, how was this possible? Sasuke had never shown this ability before. The Rinnegan's true potential was far more terrifying than he'd imagined. Kurama's voice, now distant and strained, echoed weakly in Naruto's mind. "He's using the outer path. The same power the Sage of Six Paths once wielded. Naruto, you have to break his control." But before Naruto could act, Sasuke clenched his fist, and the crimson chakra surged around him, forming a spectral outline of the nine tails around his own body. The sight was horrifying, his oldest friend, now wielding the very power that had defined Naruto's strength. Sasuke's smirk widened. "Now, let's see how you fare without your precious fox," he sneered, his voice distorted by Kurama's growl. He raised a hand, and a massive tail of chakra lashed out, carving through the forest like a blade. Naruto barely rolled aside, the shockwave sending him skidding across the dirt. Gritting his teeth, Naruto forced himself upright. He couldn't afford to falter, not now. If Sasuke could control Kurama, then the entire balance of power was at stake. He reached deep within himself, grasping for Sage Mode. The natural energy of the forest responded, swirling into his body as his eyes shifted into the golden, toad-like slits of the sage. "Fine. If it's a fight you want, then I won't hold back either," Naruto vowed, his voice steady despite the odds. He clapped his hands together, summoning a massive Rasen Shuriken, the whirling blades of wind and chakra humming with lethal precision. Sasuke's Rinnegan narrowed. Still stubborn as ever, he mused before launching forward, Kurama's chakra-enhanced speed making him a crimson blur. The two collided in a cataclysmic explosion of wind and lightning, the shockwave flattening trees for miles. The battle had only just begun, and the world itself would bear witness to its outcome. The battlefield trembled as Sasuke's Rinnegan pulsed with eerie light, its power seizing control over Kurama's massive form. The nine tails roared in defiance, its crimson chakra flickering erratically as it struggled against the foreign influence. Naruto, veins bulging from sheer effort, gritted his teeth as he fought to reclaim his bond with the beast. "Damn it, Sasuke. You won't take him from me," he shouted, his voice raw with desperation. Sasuke smirked, his Sharingan spinning menacingly as he wove hand signs with precision. "You rely too much on Kurama's power, Naruto. Let's see how you fare without him." With a flick of his wrist, he unleashed a barrage of Amaterasu flames, the black fire licking hungrily toward Naruto. But the Hokage wasn't defenseless, years of battle had honed his instincts. He blurred into motion, weaving through the inferno with shadow clone feints, his real body lunging forward with a Rasengan swirling in his palm. The clash sent shockwaves ripping through the earth, but Sasuke vanished at the last second, reappearing above Naruto with a Chidori crackling in his grip. Naruto barely twisted in time, the lightning blade grazing his shoulder as he retaliated with a spinning kick. Sasuke blocked, but the force sent him skidding back, his feet carving trenches into the ground. Kurama, still ensnared by the Rinnegan's control, suddenly lashed out, its tails whipping toward Naruto like colossal whips. Naruto barely dodged, rolling to the side as the impact cratered the earth where he'd stood. Kurama, snap out of it. He pleaded, but the beast's eyes remained glazed, its movements dictated by Sasuke's will. Sensing an opening, Sasuke surged forward, his Susanoo skeletal arm manifesting to deliver a crushing blow. Naruto crossed his arms, summoning his own Kurama-enhanced cloak to absorb the impact, but the force still sent him flying. He crashed through a rock formation, coughing blood as he forced himself upright. His mind raced, he couldn't win like this. If Sasuke controlled Kurama, he had to shift tactics. With a determined growl, Naruto reached deep within himself, tapping into the raw sage mode energy he'd long since mastered. Nature's chakra surged into him, his pupils morphing into slits as his senses sharpened. He didn't need Kurama's power, he was power. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Still refusing to give up? He raised a hand, and Kurama's maw opened, a tailed beast ball forming between its fangs. But Naruto was already moving, his sage-enhanced speed closing the distance in an instant. He slammed a fist into the ground, sending a shockwave that disrupted Kurama's aim. The tailed beast ball veered wildly, detonating harmlessly in the distance. Before Sasuke could react, Naruto was upon him, a frog kumite strike aimed at his ribs. Sasuke barely twisted away, but the shockwave still rattled his bones. He retaliated with a Chidori spear, the crackling energy slicing toward Naruto's chest. Naruto ducked, the blade grazing his forehead protector as he countered with a spinning uppercut. Sasuke flipped backward, landing gracefully as his Rinnegan flared. Suddenly, space warped around Naruto, the Rinnegan's teleportation dragging him into a deadly ambush. Sasuke appeared behind him, sword poised for a killing strike. But Naruto's sage reflexes saved him. He pivoted, catching the blade between his palms before driving a knee into Sasuke's gut. The Uchiha staggered, but he grinned through the pain. Not bad. The two legends clashed again, their movements a blur of fists, blades, and jutsu. The ground quaked under their fury, the sky darkening as their chakra collided. Naruto's sage mode enhanced every strike, his fists landing with the weight of mountains. Sasuke's Rinnegan countered with preternatural foresight, his strikes calculated and ruthless. But then, Kurama stirred. A flicker of recognition flashed in its eyes. Naruto's relentless will, his refusal to abandon their bond, was breaking through the Rinnegan's hold. With a deafening roar, Kurama's chakra flared, the beast's consciousness reawakening. Sasuke's control wavered. TCH. He reinforced his grip, but it was too late. Kurama's claws lashed out, swiping at Sasuke's Susanoo. The impact sent him flying, his defenses cracking under the Nine Tails' fury. Naruto seized the moment, his body blazing with renewed energy as Kurama's chakra surged back into him. Orange and black markings spiraled across his skin, Baryon mode. The air itself trembled as he shot forward, a golden comet of pure force. Sasuke barely raised his Susanoo in time, but the shield shattered like glass under Naruto's fist. The final blow sent Sasuke crashing into the earth, his body skidding to a stop at the edge of a cliff. Blood trickled from his lips as he forced himself up, his Rinnegan dimming. Naruto landed before him, panting but resolute. "It's over, Sasuke." Sasuke chuckled weakly. "Maybe. But you still haven't beaten me." With the last of his strength, he activated his Rinnegan one final time, space warping as he prepared to escape. Naruto's hand shot out, gripping Sasuke's wrist. Not this time. With a surge of chakra, he disrupted the teleportation, sealing Sasuke's fate. The battle was won. But as the dust settled, neither could deny the toll it had taken. They had pushed beyond their limits, and the world itself had felt their struggle. Now, only the aftermath remained. The battlefield trembled as Sasuke's Rinnegan pulsed with an eerie glow, his gaze locked onto the raging Kurama, its nine tails lashing like crimson storms. Naruto, battered but unbroken, stood between them, his cloak of chakra flickering like a dying flame. "Sasuke, don't do this," he shouted, voice raw with desperation. But Sasuke's resolve was steel, his hand lifted, the Rinnegan's power surging as he wrenched control over Kurama's mind. The fox's snarls turned to pained whimpers, its massive form shuddering under the forced submission. Naruto's heart pounded. He could feel Kurama's agony through their bond, the betrayal cutting deeper than any blade. "You're hurting him," Naruto roared, his own chakra erupting in a golden blaze. He lunged, fists crackling with energy, but Sasuke sidestepped with preternatural speed, his Sharingan tracking every move. "This is the only way," Sasuke hissed, his voice cold. "Your reliance on him is a weakness." The clash that followed was a blur of motion, fists meeting palms, kunai scraping against chakra-infused limbs. Sasuke's Rinnegan allowed him to anticipate Naruto's every strike, but Naruto's sheer will kept him standing. Dust and debris swirled around them as the ground fractured beneath their feet. Then, in a flash of violet light, Sasuke activated Amino Tejikara, swapping places with a kunai midair to deliver a devastating kick to Naruto's ribs. The impact sent him skidding backward, blood trickling from his lips. Kurama, still trapped under Sasuke's control, let out a guttural growl. Its massive paw swiped at Naruto, claws gleaming. Naruto barely dodged, rolling to his feet with a grimace. "Kurama, fight it," he pleaded. But the fox's eyes remained glazed, its movements puppeteered by Sasuke's will. Sasuke pressed his advantage, weaving hand signs with lethal precision. Fire style, dragon flame jutsu. A torrent of flames roared toward Naruto, who crossed his arms, summoning a chakra shield just in time. The heat seared his skin, but he held firm, teeth gritted. Then, through the flames, he saw it, a flicker in Kurama's gaze. A spark of defiance. Naruto's breath caught. "You're still in there," he whispered. With a surge of determination, he reached deep, pouring every ounce of his chakra into their bond. "Remember our promise, Kurama. We're partners." For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, Kurama's pupils sharpened. The fox's growl turned into a deafening roar as it wrenched free of Sasuke's control, its tails lashing violently. Sasuke staggered, his Rinnegan flickering in shock. "Impossible." Kurama's massive head turned toward Naruto, their eyes meeting. "You idiot," the fox rumbled, but there was warmth beneath the gruffness. "Don't think this makes us even." Naruto grinned, wiping blood from his chin. "Wouldn't dream of it." Together, they charged. Kurama's tails whipped forward, forcing Sasuke onto the defensive, while Naruto flanked him, delivering a spinning kick that sent Sasuke crashing into a boulder. The Uchiha coughed, his vision swimming. He'd underestimated their bond, and now, it would cost him. Naruto stood over him, panting, his blue eyes blazing. "It's over, Sasuke." Sasuke's hand trembled as he reached for his sword, but the fight had left him. He slumped back, exhaustion finally claiming him. "TCH. Maybe you were right all along." The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken words. The battle was won, but the scars remained, on the land, on their bodies, and on their souls. Yet, as the dust settled, something shifted between them. A understanding. A promise. In the aftermath, the world would never be the same. The villages, once divided by fear, now looked to Naruto and Sasuke as symbols of unity. Kurama, no longer a weapon of destruction, walked beside Naruto as an equal. And Sasuke, his path forever altered, found a new purpose, not in conquest, but in atonement. As the sun rose over the shattered battlefield, Naruto extended a hand to his rival. "Let's go home." Sasuke hesitated, then grasped it. "Yeah." And so, the tale of their conflict ended, not with a clash, but with a choice. The future was theirs to shape.